Hey guys, it's Jenny. Welcome back to the Bookworms Buddy. Today I have a tag video. Okay, welcome back guys. Also welcome to new subscribers that I have gotten recently. So yes, today I'm doing a tag video. I haven't done a tag video in a long time, and I was watching Jackie over at FirstLadyReads, and she did this tag, and I figured I would do it. So it seemed pretty fun. There's 19 questions, and of course number 20 is, tagging people. So it's called 20 Questions Tag. So let's just get started on this. The first question is, how many books are too many books in a series? For this one, I feel like the author is the one that needs to know when to stop writing a series. And it also depends on, the type of series it is. Like if you're reading a mystery, where there's separate cases in every book, I feel like that could go for a little while. As long as you keep your detective fresh and learning new things and being a different person and that kind of stuff. If you're talking about like a fantasy series, some of those series go on and on and on and on, and I feel like you need to know when to stop it. Now, with the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, I think she did really well. There was, I think, 8 books counting the novella, and she kept it moving, and it was new characters and new things happening, and I just think it was fantastic. And then on the other side of things, I think Jackie mentioned this one with Laurel K. Hamilton's Anita Blake series. I was really enjoying that series until she got way out there in left field, because she just kept going and going and going, and I'm just like, sometimes you just need to know when to stop, and I stopped. I did not keep going with that series. So I really think the author needs to know, and they've got to know in their brains. They have to know, hey, I don't have any new material for this. I think I've kind of, wore it out. Let's work on something different. And when they come to that point, I think they need to stop and start fresh with something new. But there's nothing that we as readers really can do except complain. So yeah, I think the author needs to know. I like a trilogy. I like a series, 4 or 5 books. I'm reading the Chris Carter series, the thriller series. That one's got like 12 or 13 books. As long as it stays fresh, I will read it. I will also know when to stop reading it. So yeah, I think that's just all a matter of what the reader wants to endure and how much they can take in a series. Question number 2, how do you feel about cliffhangers? I feel like cliffhangers are great as long as it is part of a series. I've learned a lesson. I don't start a series unless I have all the books. Now if it's a brand new series, then that's fine. But if it's a series that, it's been out for a few years and there's like 10 books and I only have 2, I don't generally start that series until I've got all the books. So then you'll know if there's cliffhangers, you have the next book. So like I said, if it's a series and there's cliffhangers, if they're well done, it's great. I love cliffhangers. If you got what they call a cliffhanger in a single book, I don't know if it's called a cliffhanger, but if you're reading a single standalone book and there's something added in the end or something not added in there, then I just don't find that a cliffhanger. I find that non-closure of a book. And if I'm reading a standalone book, I want the author to give me closure in that story. I don't want to have to guess and make up my mind, what I want to end. And a good example of that was Verity by Colleen Hoover. I love Colleen Hoover, don't get me wrong. I love her writing. I've read just about over half of her books. I own all of the books, but Verity that book did that to me. There was no closure. You're figuring it out, and I know she has a book now with 20 extra pages. I read those 20 extra pages and I still felt the same way. I feel like there was no closure. Nobody was a good person. Everybody was horrible. And I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to guess who was lying and who was not. I want you to tell me that. So that's a good example of, for me, of a standalone book that has cliffhangers. I don't know. I just didn't feel like the book was finished. I'm rambling. Okay, so question number 3, hardbacks or paperbacks? I used to be just a paperback kind of girl. And I used to just buy mass market paperbacks all the time. You know, your little paperbacks. And they were cost effective. They didn't take up much room. But you know, I have noticed as I get older that holding a mass market hurts my hands. Because you're having to, you know, really hold it open, and then you're breaking your spines just, you know, so it's not hurting your hands. So I used to be strictly mass market girl. And now, as you guys know, if you've been watching, I've been trying to replace mass markets with either hardbacks or trade paperbacks. Now, trade paperbacks, like this, the bigger ones, I really enjoy because, you know, most of the time they're pretty floppy. Chris Carter's, this series that I bought, they're all the same. They're not floppy at all. But they do open easy. So I appreciate that. So I've been trying to replace mass market with trade paperbacks or hardbacks. I'm not sure what my preference is, if just not mass market anymore. I can't do them anymore. So either trade paperbacks or hardbacks. Hardbacks I can sit down because a lot of times I'm sitting at my desk when I'm reading. If I read when I go to bed, then I take my Kindle if I have it on my Kindle. So yeah, either trade or hardback, just no longer mass markets. Okay, number 4, your favorite book. My favorite book of all time is It by Stephen King. People just, you know, I've had people come to me and say, really? And, you know, I started out really enjoying mysteries and, you know, because of my parents. And then, you know, evolving into an adult, I started really enjoying, you know, horror stories. And Stephen King is like king of horror in my mind. And I have just about all of his books. I've read just about all of his books. And it just really stuck. Not about the horror part of it, because I really don't find any of his books being like horror, like scary stuff. But I find them creepy and disturbing and that kind of stuff. And it was about friendships too. His character building, that book will just always be my favorite book. I just will always enjoy it. Stephen King is just a great writer, and in my mind, he can write just about anything. So I've read a little bit of every genre in his books. Except, you know, if we're talking like Victorian style writing, he hasn't wrote that I know of. He has had time travel where he has went back in time, just not Victorian era. Okay, moving on. Least favorite book. I'm going to say my least favorite book was House of Leaves. I've talked to you guys before about this book. And I just don't get it. And I've had people tell me, well, you're just reading it wrong. I can't even discuss it right now. It was like a textbook for me. And people are talking about, oh my God, this is such a mind game and it's scary. And I'm like, okay, all right. And I read through that book and trudged through the pages. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And I did finish it, but I don't know. That's one of my least favorite books that I've ever read. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it at all. Another one that I really didn't like was Go Ask Alice. You know, that's a book on, you know, drug addiction and stuff, and you know, it says by anonymous, and I looked it all up, and there is an author. I can't remember at the top of my head. But yeah, House of Leaves is probably the topper for me. Okay, number 6. Love triangles, yes or no? I'm a little past love triangles in this day and age and at my age. If they're done well, I guess they're okay, but I would just rather have... I mean, I feel like L. Kennedy kind of writes love triangles, but not like, well, everybody wants to mention Twilight. Not quite that dramatic, if that makes any sense. I'm really kind of on the fence about it. I don't read enough romance to really even discuss love triangles. I'm just going to say if they're done well. But otherwise, I'm just kind of indifferent. If there's a love triangle and I just don't like it, then I just won't read it. You know, I'm kind of indifferent on love triangles. Number 7, what is the most recent book you couldn't finish? Okay, I want to say, pardon me for a minute, guys. Let me grab this. I want to say this, Inspection. I haven't completely given it up. This is by Josh Malerman because, you know, I loved Bird Box so much. But this one is so slow. And I don't know if I'm going to put it down as a DNF. I didn't even list it on Goodreads yet. It's not even in my books that I've read. I haven't even, because when I started the book, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to even list this. It's not even written in my reading journal. So there's that one. But the other one that I did put on Goodreads was After by Anna Todd. My youngest daughter came to me and said, "Hey Mom, try Anna Todd, try After and let me know what you think." I tried it. And I hardcore tried it. And I couldn't. It was just one of those tropes with the girl who just, she has no mind of her own. She can't stand on her own 2 feet. It's horrible. I'm sorry guys. I just can't. I can't do After. That's the most recent one I haven't finished. Inspection also. I believe I started Inspection in December, but I tried to read After a little bit before that. I think they were both December-ish. I'm not for sure. But Inspection, I've not made my mind up yet. Maybe I will eventually get back to that, but don't count on it. Okay. The next question, what is a book you're currently reading? The book that I'm currently reading, which I don't have it in here with me, is War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. This is a big book, you guys. It's like 662 pages. I'm about around page 200. At the time of recording this, I'm recording this on Sunday, so you'll probably see this on Tuesday. I may be done by then. So, but yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. What is the last book you recommended to someone? And I'm going to say that was One by One by Chris Carter, because I was telling my sister about actually the whole series. But this is the one I finished, and I'm not going to ramble, you guys, because I rambled enough in my last video talking about, Thriller Thursday, talking about One by One. So yeah, that was the last one I recommended. I also recommended to my husband the L. Kennedy books, because he likes to read romance sometimes. Okay, number 10, what is the oldest book you read? That is simple. It is the Bible. I have read the Bible completely through. When we are actually having Bible studies, my family and I, and we're starting at the beginning to get through it. But the Bible is the oldest book that I have read. Interesting reading, very contradictory if you've not read the Bible. There's a lot of contradictions in the Bible, and I feel like the Bible is stepping stones, not something that you can actually live your life by in today's world. Like back when the Bible was written, you could follow that, you know, through and through. The 10 Commandments, you can follow those. But yeah, the Bible. Number 11, what is the newest book you read? And that would be Fairy Tale. That was the newest book that I read. And Fairy Tale came out at the end of last year. I just read it last month, maybe. I think it was last month I read it. Superb book, you guys. It's by Stephen King. Your favorite author? Stephen King. Yeah, he is my all-time favorite author. I've got a lot of favorite authors now. Chris Carter. I enjoy Colleen Hoover. Let's see, who else have I read? Sarah J. Maas. I enjoy her writing. You know, as you evolve as readers, you're going to have more than one favorite author. But my all-time favorite author will always be Stephen King. I love his writing. I love his abilities to create worlds and characters. All that good stuff. Number 13, buying books or borrowing books. I'm always going to say buy books. I don't have a library where I live. I mean, they're itty bitty tiny libraries and they don't really have much of a selection. The biggest libraries are in Denton, but I don't live within the city limits of Denton, so I can't just go in and get a library card. I have to pay for it, and I'm not going to do that. So, I'm going to say buying books. Number 14, what is a book you hate that everyone else seems to love? Back to House of Leaves, you guys, because I've had so many people say, oh my gosh, this book was fantastic, or you just read it wrong, or I don't understand how you didn't understand. And I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine. You could like a book, and I won't like it, or vice versa. Number 15, bookmarks or dog ears? Definitely bookmarks. I have a video on how to make your own bookmark, so don't dog ear your pages. No, seriously, if people want to dog ear their own pages, that's fine, but I'm not dog earing mine. I'm using bookmarks. Okay. Number 16, what is a book that you can always reread? I've reread a lot of Stephen King books, but I've read 4 times. Absolutely loved it. It never gets old. I love it every single time. I could probably reread romance books. You know, just give me a romance that I've already read. You know, like Colleen Hoover. I could reread a Colleen Hoover book because, you know, the flow is really good. So, yeah. Let's see. Number 17. Can you read while listening to music? I can if I'm listening to something that's like instrumental. Like if you go onto YouTube and just, you know, say I'm reading this book and I type in thriller music and it'll come up with a whole bunch of instrumental music and it just kind of puts you into the zone when you're reading, and it's fantastic for me. I don't always do it, but like maybe if my husband's watching something on YouTube and I want to read, because voices distract me really bad if I hear people talking. If I hear music, I'm gonna, you know, start moving to it and whatever. So if it's instrumental music, that is perfect. But like I said, I don't always listen to it, but when I do and I want to block out something else, then I'll listen to that. Number 18, one POV or multiple. I used to be like a one POV kind of person because, you know, what I was reading, that used to be what it was, you know. But now that I've read more multiple POVs, I love it. As long as they are marked properly so that you know. Like if you're reading an Alice Feeney book, she does a lot of letters in her book. And they're not like, it's a mystery, like to the story, and it's not marked. That kind of throws me off a little bit because, you know, you're reading it, you don't know who you're reading from. So if you're reading an Alice Feeney and she uses letters in parts of her book, that gets a little confusing because you're like, oh wait, what is this? Until you get further and you're learning, okay, this is a mystery person, you know. So if they're marked properly and you know who's talking, that's great. If it's switching POVs and there's no name, that's confusing for me. Okay, number 19. Do you read books in one sitting or over multiple days? That depends on the book. If there is a book that flows really well, it's got a great story, and it's not too big, I can read that book in one sitting. If you get in a bigger book, you know, something that's a little more intense, a little, you know, a few more, you know, little, you know, elements added or what have you, then, you know, it's going to take multiple days. It's not really a race, you know. I don't really decide books. Like, I don't sit there and say, oh, here's a book I can read in a day. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, it's how you're feeling when you're reading and what you're reading. So I have read books in one sitting, and I read books that takes multiple days. I mean, it's just, you know, it's your reader and your genre and whatever you're reading. And then number 20 is tag people. Well, I'm not going to tag anybody. If you guys watch my videos and you do videos, do the tag and let me know. But that is it for me in this video, guys. Thanks for staying tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.